Hello, everyone, and God bless. How's everyone doing on this cold Tuesday? These weeks and months is just flying by. How's everyone's day going so far? Pray all is well. We got to learn that when God allows us to wake up, the rest is up to us, what we choose to do with it. He's done his part, you know, and so now we have to work our day out however way you see fit. But I'm not going to be on here long. I just come to give someone a word of encouragement God dropped in my spirit. Whatever God has told you or unctioned you to do in this hour, do it. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait. Don't wait to be validated by anyone else. If God have spoken and he has given you a word, he's given you a promise, stand on it. Move in it, operate in it, meditate on it, and start doing what God has told you to do in this hour, no matter what it is. I was in conversation, and this individual said she knew God was speaking to her about leaving this job. And she didn't want to leave this job because this job paid really well, and it had awesome insurance. Well, of course, when God tells you to leave a job, a good job, or a career, actually, I think it was a career she was in. Actually, I take that back. It was a career she was in. And it was something that God led her to prior in her life before he called her to do something else. See, a lot of times God will tell you to do something else, but that don't mean that's where you're going to always be. And so how she obeyed God and she started this business. Well, then God spoke to her and said, now I need you to move. And he told her to move to an area she had never visited, had never went to or anything. And she like, now, Lord, this is going to sound real crazy to my family and my friends. But how many of you know God will put you in a situation that will look crazy to your family members and to your friends? But you still have to obey the voice of God. You still have to do what God has told you to do. I don't care how foolish it looks. Just like Noah building that ark. You think folks didn't make fun of him and laugh at him? Why are you building safety, a ark, in a place where it has never rained? Like, what? Huh? Who told you to do that? Well, now if anybody was to stop and think, it had to come from someone higher than Noah, higher than himself. He wouldn't have thought to build an ark, because I'm sure when God told him to build it, I'm sure he probably questioned God too. Like, what? Like, why am I building that? So God would put you in certain situations that it would cause people to question. And that's okay. God knows that, because that's that table that he's preparing for you. So you need, having people questioning and doubting and speaking on things that because they just don't understand. How many of us is guilty of speaking about things that we just didn't understand? It didn't make sense to us. It wasn't the norm. What man think is normal, I'm guilty of it. So after she, had to, let her family and, her friends knew, and I think she said it was on like a couple of people that she spoke it to, because you got to be careful. When God speaks certain things to you, you can't immediately share it with people. I don't care if it's your family or your friends. Sometimes you have to just sit on that thing, because if you go to the wrong person with it, and God has not given them that vision of it, they will begin to speak against it. And what that will do is that will freeze you. That will stop you from moving forward. Because now what they're going to do, they're going to plant that seed of doubt. They're going to plant that seed of, that don't make sense. Why would God tell you to do that? Because he's God. you know, so sometimes we think that it's us doing everything. No, God strategically dropped certain desires in our spirits on what to do and what not to do. And so she followed the voice of the Lord, and she closed that business down, and she sold her home. She said God blessed her with that home. It was almost brand new. Matter of fact, I think she said it was new, but she got it at a steal deal of a price. Well, it was this couple that wanted to buy it, but they didn't have the closing. She said God spoke to her and told her to pay that closing, and said, she said, now Lord, now wait a minute. Now you told me to close my business down. I done that. You told me to sell my home. I'm in the process of doing that. Now you want me to pay the closing costs? Listen, when God tell you to do something, you just have to follow suit, because when you obey God on that level, he finna come, and he finna come like never before. And she said how God just ordered her steps. She said she obeyed God. She paid that closing cost, and people was forever grateful. She sold that home. She moved, and you ought to see her now. She's in a much better place, position, everything. God had completely rerouted her from where he started her from. So just because God started you there, that don't mean you're going to stay there. And actually, let me back up. She said she was at a corporate job. She had got this job, and she was talking about how well this job was paying. It was paying some big bucks. And God told her to leave that job. And this was before, I think, he had told her about relocating. And so she said, now, Lord, now wait a minute. Now here we go again. Now you finna make me look foolish again. So he was telling her to leave this job, but he hadn't even told her where she was going. Honey, that's that strong faith. Now folks will come up against that. But in hesitation, she went on ahead and put her 2 weeks in. Put her 2 weeks. No. I don't think she put her 2 weeks in. She procrastinated. And I don't know what happened, but she wound up losing her job. See, sometime when we don't want to obey God because something looked foolish, I'd rather look foolish than to be embarrassed of getting fired. See, when God tells us to do something, we got to be obedient. We can't worry about what people are going to say. We can't worry about how people are going to look. We can't even worry about what people are going to think. Because what God has taught me in the few months that he's been transitioning me is that everybody is not going to understand what he's doing. He's God. And we all have our own personal journey. It doesn't matter our relationship. It doesn't matter our friendship. When God say go, you got to go. When God say do, you got to do. When God say stand, you got to stand. When God say stop, you got to stop. You got to obey God. You got to shut the mouth of those that are just speaking because it doesn't make sense to them. That's not how they got the car. That's not how they got the job. That's not how they got the husband. That's not how they got the wife. That's not how they ended up with the career. But we have to understand, we all have our own journey. And God you're not going to walk the way I have to walk, and I'm not going to walk the way you have to walk. I think if we learn how just to respect one another, walk one another's journey, the better off we'll be. Then we won't be getting frustrated over something that don't even have anything to do with us. So she said for those reasons, she had to keep it to herself. She couldn't even tell. I think she said she told her best friend, and you better make sure they're her best friend. And I think she said she told I don't know, it may have been her mother. I know it was one family member. And she said that's all she told. Because she know the amount of money she was making. See, people get so focused on that money. What about the money? No, your purpose is more important than that money. We're here for a purpose. We weren't here just to make money. That's just part of this natural living, but that's not why we're here. We here to carry out the purpose that God have already ordained for our lives. That's why we're here. See, people done got caught up. But with that being said, God just wanted me to get on here and encourage you to just do what he's calling you to do. Don't worry about who believe it. Don't worry about who's supporting it. Don't worry about who's looking over. You can't worry about that kind of stuff because that's distraction. God said in his word, I can't remember that scripture. It's not coming to me. I should have wrote it down. God is saying, whoever don't believe, does that make his word none effect? Do that not make him God? Does it not make what he said going to come true? Because you got a few people that don't believe because it don't make sense, or they had to get it this way, so they feel like you have to get it that way. They went this way, so they feel like that you have to go that way too. No, God is God. So whatever God is speaking over your life to do today, whatever it is, move in the things of God. We have lost ourselves in moving in the things of people. And when we move in the thing of people, we give people control. And when they can no longer control you and tell you what to do and how to do it and et cetera, that's where bitterness come in at. That's where chaos come in at. And it's not worth all of that. So if you just listen to the one voice that matters, and that's God, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And listening to her story of how God strategically moved her around. I mean, completely relocated her to a place she had never been, never even thought about going. But when God told her to move, with great hesitation, she obeyed. So whatever God is speaking in your spirit, and don't wait, don't worry about what people are going to think, what people are going to feel, what people are going to say. None of that matters. Because had she listened to God when God first told her to leave that job, but the money and what people was going to say, it led her to be embarrassed at the end because she wound up getting fired. And God had told her to leave that job and she wouldn't leave. So in this hour, we can't get caught up on the money because God may tell you to walk away from it. And if you was to see this sister now, she said she wouldn't have never thought that she would be where she was, just obeying God. The Bible says obedience is better than a sacrifice. I'd rather be obedient to God than to sacrifice worrying about what somebody's going to think and how people's going to feel. Because, honey, what I've learned, people going to think and feel whatever they want. So you might as well obey God and be blessed. So with that being said, I'm going to get off here. Like I said, this word was going to be quick. God just wanted me to encourage someone that whatever he's has dropped in your spirit, whatever desires he has dropped in your spirit, move forward on that, whatever it is. Don't procrastinate any longer. If you're on a job and you know he's unctioning you to leave that job, don't wait. Don't look at the money. If God is saying go, go, that means he has something greater. Remember, we are here for a purpose. We're not here to make every dollar in the world. You're going to leave that stuff behind. You're not taking that stuff with you. When God called you, when God called your name or your number, you're not hauling that stuff with you. It's not even yours to take. So if God tells you to leave that job, make sure it's him. But he's going to order your steps. He's going to give you signs. You're going to know it's him. But don't sacrifice worrying about what people's going to think and feel because you obeying God. Because God would have you doing some things that people's not going to agree. But it's not for them to agree. Why? Because it's not their journey. Lord, we get so bent out of shape over somebody else's journey. Lord, help us. You know, I look foolish getting upset with you because God told you to stand and be still and see the salvation of the Lord, and or either God may told someone else to go in the service. What am I getting upset about? That has nothing to do with me. I got to worry about where He's telling me to go and what He's telling me to do. So in this hour, let's be encouraging to one another, because when God tells us to do things, trust me, it don't make sense to us either. But when we have to walk it out, we need to be encouraged. We don't need everybody, you don't need people coming at you because they don't understand. The best thing is, if you don't understand, pray. Pray and ask God, Lord, you help that individual. It don't make sense to me, but Lord, I'm not God. But Lord, you give them the strength to walk it out. Sometimes that's all you need to do is pray for someone's strength to walk it out. Because you don't know what God may have you doing. You don't know what your next move gonna be. You may be at a job and God may cause something to happen and that job have to shut down. Then what? So we can't persecute someone because we don't understand their journey. We can't tear a person down because we don't understand what God is doing in their lives. That's not for us to understand. So with that being said, don't miss out on your blessing being disobedient and sacrificing, wanting to be accepted and wanting to get the world's approval. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to get the world's approval. And the world is your family, your friends, your whoever. Do what God is calling you to do in this hour. You can't be nothing but blessed with being obedient. So with that being said, move forward in the things of God and don't allow nothing to stop you. If God told you to stand and see the salvation, you stand. No matter what it looks like. Because why? Because that's your journey. Our journey is not a relative journey. It's not a relationship journey. We all have our personal journey. You have yours and I have mine. It doesn't make a difference. Our relationship, our journeys is different. So if God told you to stand and see the salvation of the Lord, stand. No matter who tell you to go, you stand and you obey God, because when you disobey God, there's consequences. How do you think Jonah winded up in the belly of the whale? He was being disobedient. And there's consequences when you are disobedient. So with that being said, somebody knocking, I gotta go. Be blessed. And whatever God is calling you to do in this hour, be found being obedient. Remember, it's better than a sacrifice. Until next time, God bless.